Let's hear it for Severine.
Thank you. Sir, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good.
Loud and proud, baby.
Good, because I've got this weird French accent, so I want to make sure that I'm understood. Good, thank you. So, how do you feel when you wake up? Because for the first 35 years of my life, I was feeling either tired or exhausted, down or depressed, and the mirror said I'm overweight. And that wasn't too much of a problem until I burnt out completely from work. And from that moment on, I decided that I was committed to make things change. I wanted to get healthier, I wanted to get happier. So I decided to go and see a GP, and a psychologist, and a psychiatrist, and they all told me, diagnosed me with different things and offered some different solutions, but nothing was really right to me for some reason. So I persevered, and I went to see another psychiatrist, which, for those who don't know, a psychiatrist is basically a medical doctor that has a specialization for the brain. And this lovely person said, look, you have absolutely no mental condition. You're just thinking differently, but that's okay. Your problem is physiological. So she gave me some blood tests to do. And when I came back the week after, I think, she said, look, all is fine, you've got hypothyroidism. And I was like, what the hell is hypothyroidism? So she reassured me. She said it's simply when the thyroid gland, which is here, doesn't produce enough hormones. And it's very common. About 10% of women in the UK have that. And all your symptoms are actually common symptoms of hypothyroidism. So I started taking all this medication, and I felt better. And I was like, wow, that's great. But I could feel I could get even better. So I started doing research, and I came across a very weird article linking gluten to depression. Knowing that I didn't have clinical depression, I thought, is it really going to help? But I was willing to give it a try. Given that gluten, for those who don't know, is the protein of wheat, barley, or wheat, barley, and rye. So basically, I was going to give up gluten for a while and see if I would get any results. And to my very, very big surprise, I went through hell. The first 2 weeks of withdrawal, I was twice as depressed as before. And that wasn't nice. But I felt if I had this strong reaction, maybe I got something there. And I persevered. And just 1 or 2 days later, I realized, well, my head was very clear. For the first time, I had very clear thoughts. And then that's when I learned that, what brain fog is. I had brain fog. And my energy went through the roof. And the more I stayed on this diet, the better I felt. And every time I was, intentionally or not, having a bite of gluten, I went back to the previous symptoms. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And everything was all right for the next 2 years of my life until a nice bike ride. It was a spring, and it was near London Wall. I remember so clearly because it was the first time I had heart palpitation. Did anyone have heart palpitation before? So yeah, you know how freaky it is. But for me, it was even more freakier because I knew my dad has heart problem, and I knew that my grandmother died of a heart attack. So I was like, okay, now my life seems in order. I was so much happier. I had all the energy. I was like, I'd pretty much figured it out. And so what was this new problem? And so I went back to the GP, we did some blood tests, and I went back to the other way. Instead of not producing enough hormones, I was producing too much hormones. And because I was already on the lowest dosage, she said, well, there's no point in taking medication anymore. So the conclusion of this story, when I was told I had hypothyroidism, I was told it would be for life. I had to take these hormones for life. But because I questioned it and I tried to tweak my diet, I managed to completely get rid of not only the symptoms, but the condition. And that's how powerful nutrition is. And that's why I retrain as a nutritional therapist, to help other people who believe that natural causes, to help people who believe that just by eating or not eating certain foods and having a healthy lifestyle can impact their health and well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like what you said about depression. Yeah, if you give up gluten, you're twice as depressed. If you give up sugar, probably 5 times.
Yes.
But let's hear it from the judges.
Cool. Well done.
Thank you.
Can I just say that whatever you were
Thank you.
saying, you made a mistake, and she continued. And I think we all have to appreciate that on stage, that when we're learning and we know exactly what we want to say and we fluff it up, we can go completely blank, completely lose it, and you didn't. And how long have you been coming to Pony now?
Just 1 month.
There you go. You see, like that could have completely thrown you and froze you, and I just wanted to point that out because you continued.
Yes.
I don't know who's over here that you're talking to, though. I hope they're hot.
No, I was just trying to move.
It's a really awkward space.
But yeah.
When you're thinking, and I'm sure Elliot will NLP and tell you what's over there and all those things, but you're just leaning in when you're thinking, and you're shutting off all these wonderful people.
I'm so sorry, guys.
It's okay, you're learning, don't worry.
I have a weird posture as well because the microphone is at the top, so I had to...
It's okay, it doesn't matter. It's just remember, it's when you're thinking. So you don't want to make that a habit of when you're thinking, your body does that, because that's you're just, the neurons will just start building that as a natural.
Okay, I understand.
And I've already had one conversation about this with a lovely lady already here, I can't remember. Can we all stop apologising for our accents, please? Okay.
Anya told me to do that, to
Well, don't
apologise
listen to
5
her,
times.
I tell her off all the time, okay? Okay, I was told many years ago I wouldn't make it as a TV presenter because the BBC at the time was only employing regional accents, London accent, it was going to be doomed. I get paid a lot of money for my voice in voiceovers. I'm currently on lots of things, don't need to boast about it. Do not apologise. Okay? We all need to be clear when we're speaking. You don't need to change your personality, you don't need to be loud like me, you can still be timid. With Ron might just solve that by getting a microphone next time. You know, there's ways around it. But please don't ever apologise for your voice because it weakens you and you're already a little bit ashamed of who you are. Jesus, I would love a French accent. Yeah. And embrace who you are. Embrace that culture. It's going to give you much more presence on stage. Okay. You are a woman and you are a French woman and it is in you. Okay? You're lucky, you know? Us British and all, but it's part of your culture. So really embrace that presence.
Thank you.
Really look into, you know, your culture as a woman. I think will give you great benefits on stage. Your topic and what you do is going to give you so many juicy ways to kind of delve into issues, solving problems in your story. I've overrun again, but great job, 1 month in, guys. You know, and that's a credit. That is a credit to what Anit and Elliot do here. You know, you're going from, you know, straight away 1 month in, and you're doing a 5-minute talk. Yeah. I mean, well done. Thanks.
It's okay, girlfriend. Just had to jump in with that woman power. No, okay, cool. So I don't know how to follow that. It's pretty spot on. You took a lot of what I was going to say.
Sorry.
That's right. It's allowed. The thing. Huh?
Don't apologise.
Yeah, she did say sorry. So, first of all, come here. Good. So this is the first time I've seen you, so it's nice to see you. It's true what she was saying. So I think, are you very auditory? Do you hear things? Do you see things? Or do you feel things?
I feel things.
Hence the down. So people who are auditory, so we think in sounds, like me, I'm very auditory. We tend to keep our eyes here when we're recalling. People who are visual, recall up. And people who are kinesthetic, the feely, touchy people, they go down. They need to feel something to be reminded, which is why you were doing that. So for you, it's very much about practicing, it's funny I'm going to say this now, standing still and allowing yourself to recall by standing and looking in the mirror versus having to do anything with your body, then allow yourself to move. So for her, it's almost rewinding, getting comfortable with stillness and recalling. Right? The other thing I'd really love you to do, because again, this is the first time I see you, is again, there's lots of I, me in that talk. What about the audience? What about us? So it's a great story. Enroll us. The more enrolling, that's going to have far more impact if you go, okay, everybody, who here eats bread? It's hands, good. I want you to think of the last time you had a beautiful, succulent, nice smelling piece of toast, or you walk past the bakery, and you're like, I want you to think of that moment right now.
Okay.
Now I want you to think that putting that in your mouth makes you depressed.
Still that. Next time.
Let me tell you my story. Do you see? So really enrolling us through questions, through visualizations, through feeling, touchy stuff, that's going to take time. I know it's the first time, so this is a stretch, but I think where you're going with it is going to be very, very powerful.
Okay, thank you.